Hello friends, my name is Ryan. I'm going to tell you a story named The Kray Twins, London's Notorious Gangster Brothers, which is a very amazing story full of twists. So, let's start. In the heart of London's East End, where cobblestone streets echoed with the footsteps of hard-working folks, there existed a world hidden in plain sight, a world where power, influence, and fear ruled supreme. This is where the story of the infamous Kray twins begins. Ronald and Reginald Kray, identical twins born in 1933, seemed ordinary at first glance. But behind their charming smiles and sharp suits lay a dark empire that would haunt London forever. The Kray twins grew up in a tough neighborhood where survival meant learning to fight. And fight they did. By the time they were teenagers, their names were whispered in hushed tones. They had a knack for boxing and quickly made a name for themselves in the ring. But the twins weren't satisfied with trophies and applause. They craved power, real power. It started small. A pub fight here, a debt collection there. But soon, the twins realized their true potential wasn't in boxing gloves, but in the shadows of London's criminal underworld. They formed a gang, known simply as the Firm, and began to weave a web of corruption, violence, and influence that would stretch far beyond the East End. The Krays were unlike any other gangsters. They didn't lurk in the shadows, they embraced the limelight. With their dashing looks, impeccable style, and suave demeanor, they charmed everyone from celebrities to politicians. Their nightclub, Esmeralda's Barn, became the hottest spot in town, frequented by stars like Frank Sinatra and Judy Garland. On the surface, the Krays were the epitome of London's glamour. But behind the velvet curtains, a darker story unfolded. One cold November night, a young journalist named Alice Brown decided to dig deeper into the Kray twins' empire. She had heard whispers of their brutality, stories of men who crossed them and vanished without a trace. Alice knew the risks, but her curiosity was insatiable. She began piecing together the puzzle, interviewing former associates and tracking down victims' families. The more she uncovered, the more dangerous her mission became. Alice's investigation led her to a man named Charlie Parker, a former enforcer for the twins. Charlie had seen it all, the beatings, the threats, the murders. But now, he lived in fear, constantly looking over his shoulder. "They're not just gangsters," he told Alice in a trembling voice. "They're monsters." As Alice delved deeper, the Kray's true nature began to emerge. Ronald, or Ronnie, was the more volatile of the two, prone to fits of rage and paranoia. Reginald, or Reggie, was the strategist, the brains behind their operations. Together, they were unstoppable. Their empire included illegal gambling, protection rackets, and even blackmail. They ruled with an iron fist, eliminating anyone who dared to oppose them. But the Kray's reign wasn't without its cracks. Ronnie's erratic behavior and violent outbursts often jeopardized their operations. One fateful night, at their club, Ronnie got into an argument with a rival gangster named George Cornell. The tension in the room was palpable, the air thick with unspoken threats. And then, without warning, Ronnie pulled out a gun and shot George in cold blood. The room fell silent, the only sound the faint echo of the gunshot. This act of violence sent shockwaves through London's underworld. The Krays had crossed a line, and even their most loyal allies began to question their allegiance. Meanwhile, Alice was closing in on the twins. She had gathered enough evidence to expose their crimes, but she needed one final piece to bring them down. One rainy evening, Alice received an anonymous tip. She was instructed to meet at a secluded warehouse on the outskirts of London. Against her better judgment, she went. The warehouse was dark and eerie, the only light coming from a flickering bulb. As she stepped inside, her heart pounded. She wasn't alone. From the shadows emerged Reggie Kray. His expression was calm, almost friendly, but his eyes betrayed a cold, calculating menace. "Miss Brown," he said smoothly, "I hear you've been asking questions." Alice stood her ground, her voice steady despite her fear. "The truth needs to come out, Mr. Kray. People deserve to know who you really are." Reggie chuckled, a low, menacing sound. "And what do you think happens to people who dig too deep?" Before Alice could respond, the sound of police sirens pierced the air. Reg's expression changed instantly. He darted into the shadows, disappearing as quickly as he had appeared. The police stormed the warehouse, but the Krays were already gone. Alice's evidence, combined with the police's growing case, was enough to arrest the twins. The trial was a media sensation, with the Krays' glamorous facade finally shattered. Witnesses testified against them, revealing the full extent of their crimes. In 1969, Ronnie and Reggie were sentenced to life imprisonment, their empire reduced to rubble. But even behind bars, the Krays' legend lived on. Some viewed them as ruthless villains, while others romanticized them as anti-heroes. Their story became a cautionary tale of ambition and power gone wrong. And as for Alice Brown? Her bravery earned her both praise and criticism. She exposed the darkness lurking in London's heart, but she also paid a price. She lived the rest of her life under the shadow of the Krays' legacy, forever marked by the story she uncovered. Thank you for listening to this thrilling tale of the Kray twins. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more spine-chilling stories. Until next time, this is Ryan, signing off.